I had an opportunity this week to rescue some more firewood. And this wood was found in the Little Belt Mountains. It was a Ponderosa pine that had long ago withered and died. So basically the wood had cured in place. There was nothing green about it. It was very dry. There weren't any soft spots or punkiness that I could feel in the wood, but there was some unusual looking tear out, not typical chainsaw type marks, but grain tear out on the ends. So I wanted to take a look inside the wood just a little bit more and see how it responded to tool work, just as an indication of how it would respond to the gouge on the lathe. And it seemed okay, so I went forward. Here I just drew that circle, kind of referencing the knots on the bark side. I wanted to include some of those as features in the bowl. And it had a 5-inch radius, so I matched that up with my little circle cutting jig on my bandsaw. Now here when I turn it on, the speed of the lathe is at about 1,000 RPM, and it just shook like crazy, bucking bronco style. So I turned it down until the shaking stopped, and that was at about 600 RPM. So my first task is to true up the wood and make it round, try and get some balance in there, just due to the nature of a natural edge piece like this. It's going to be out of balance pretty much the whole time until you take out most of the wood, and then you can speed it up without worrying about the shake. Almost right away after I started truing the bowl, I noticed that it wasn't quite where I wanted it to be in reference to the top edge or the natural edge. I continued anyways just to see how it looked, but I got to a certain point and knew that I had to do something different, so I went with the worm screw, because I thought the angle that it would provide when flush up against the chuck would be what I was looking for. And also the bowl is not overly heavy because it's pine, a softer, lighter wood, and the worm screw provided plenty of support. And you can see here that it's just right away out of balance again, so I've got to repeat the steps that I've already done. I'll true the bowl again, make it round, but it's all for the good. You can always change course when making a bowl, or really anything else in life. If something's wrong, change it. And sometimes the best way to do that is just to be the change. Just be the change. It's not too late. So once I've got the usable mortise established and I know where the foot of the bowl is going to be, I can start shaping the outside. Pine is never my first choice in woods to turn, just because it's so soft, but it sure can be pretty. And it's very easy to sand, which helps a lot on a natural edge bowl, because you have to do a lot of hand sanding without the lathe being on. Cynthia Hawkins of Union Square, New York City, asked me a question, and it was regarding which woods a person could consider for turning. And it's a really huge question, but I'm going to answer it in a nutshell as best as I can. First, I can't think of any woods that are too dense to turn or too soft to turn, unless it's like a rotten punky wood, and even those can be stabilized for turning. Whatever is available in your area that speaks to you when you're looking at it, that's the wood I would choose. If I go into a wood store, woodworking store, to select a piece of wood to turn, I have been known to stand there staring at the selection of wood for a long time, and even walk away without buying any, because nothing stood out to me. There was nothing special there. Everybody looks at things a little bit differently, so it's very much up to the individual. And that might seem like a non-answer, but it is an answer if you think about it. And one other piece of, wisdom that I would pass on would be keep your tools sharp. The harder and denser the wood that you're working with, the more often you have to sharpen your tool. Now, I've never used the carbide tips, so I can't speak to those, but I'm sure eventually they dull as well, so you have to pivot them to keep that sharp edge out there. So the bottom line is really, whether you purchase wood from a woodworking store or you use wood from firewood piles or all of the above, it's all good. Cynthia, I hope that helped. Thanks for watching all my videos. This wood really soaked up the shine juice. I had to put about 5 coats on, but it turned out nice. And now, without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to a couple of special guests that stopped by and wanted to make a bowl. Mr. and Mrs. O. With just a little bit of instruction and a little bit of help, they made a beautiful bowl. Look at those shavings. Natural edged Ambrosia Maple. Just absolutely beautiful. Congratulations, you two. Good job. Thanks everybody for watching. I really appreciate it. 30K. Can't thank you enough. Let's keep growing. Semper Fi.